This is a Main Hustle Media podcast.
Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Jackie O and you're listening to Militantly Mixed.
Yo, this is Rashani from the Single Simulcast. And when I'm not making you laugh or making up parody songs, I'm kicking back, listening to Militantly Mixed.
Konnichiwa, what's up, cousins? Welcome to Militantly Mixed, the podcast about race and identity from the mixed race perspective. I am your Sir Auntie, Charmaine Fury, and this is my first episode back since initiating the every other week schedule. And I think this is going to be far more manageable than the weekly episodes were going to be, given how heavy my workload is for school. And also November itself, y'all already know because I've been saying it, it's always going to be awful for me for the rest of my life. It's the death month anniversary, and I can't really conceive of the fact that I'm about to hit the second anniversary since losing Tristan. And so every day this month, it's either remembering the last time we did something, or it's I can't remember at all what we did on this day. And so then I feel like guilt and pain over not remembering every moment of his last month. So it's been a difficult month for that. It's also my final month of my last month of my first semester of law school, and it's a heavy month. The reading is out of control. The projects are heavy. And I've been really overwhelmed. So I actually forgot to edit this episode. It is right now, at the time I'm recording, Monday, November 17th at 11:06 p.m. And this episode is meant to go live at midnight on November 18th. It's usually done in advance by this point, and I just loaded up to schedule it to go at midnight. I should be able to have that done because the episode is finally edited. But the reason why I'm doing it so late is because I was working on homework all day. And then I had my Japanese tutoring, which I have every Monday. And then I looked at my homework and I said, my brain is too fried. There's no way I'm going to be able to proofread this tonight. I'll have to do it in the morning. I'm going to go give myself a half an hour of vegging out time on the couch, watching TV, and then I'm going to go to bed because I've been going to bed at like 1 or 2 every night. And I really wanted to push myself to go to bed early. And so that was around 8:30 or so. I was going to try to get to bed by 9:30 because I've been really exhausted. But before I vegged out, I went to write. I have this like little ritual I do now where I free write for 15 minutes a night before I get ready for bed, and it's meant to help with ADHD, even though it's a free write. But it's also just something that I think has emotionally been really helpful for me. It's kind of journaling, but also sometimes it's literally me walking through a process of some sort. And because I'm handwriting it, it's meant to help me focus and stuff like that. I started it a little while ago. It's been really beneficial. So I was about to do that, and I got about 2 sentences into a free write where I was about to talk about things that I want to do over the next couple of days. And in that process, I remembered, oh shit, there's an episode due in a couple hours and I haven't edited it yet. And the reason why I hadn't is because my workload was so heavy the last couple of weeks, and I kept thinking, oh, I have time. It's 2 weeks from now. I have time. It's 1 week from now. I have time. And then I ran out of fucking time because I had a migraine for 3 days straight. I was in bed. I wasn't really getting anything done. And now I'm in the scramble. So I forgot. But I think I can get it out by midnight. It's 11:09 right now, so we'll see what happens. My guest today is Traci Hobson. She is someone I actually met in Meat Space, and she's one of the loveliest people that I've had the privilege to encounter in Meat Space throughout this militantly mixed life of mine. One of my favorite things, I think y'all know, is when I get a chance to actually physically interact with folks at mixed events and stuff like that. It's actually something that I would like to prioritize in the future of Militantly Mixed, because it's really inspirational. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm around family and stuff like that. And that's what Mixed Asian Day was like this year for me. And I got a chance to meet Traci Hobson, who is our guest today, and her daughter Tati. And the pair of them were both really lovely, and I would love to get the opportunity, and we've talked about it a little bit, it's just a question of scheduling. Would love to get a chance to talk to them individually about their mixed stories, but I also would like to talk to them together on an episode about their story, because Traci, our guest today, is a transracial adoptee from Korea. She is of Korean and African American descent, and her daughter Tati is also mixed but American born and the child of a transracial adoptee. So their dynamic together is really precious of a story to share. They were generous enough to share that at Mixed Asian Day. And for those of you who weren't able to attend, I would love to get the opportunity to do that. I've actually only had family members together on one other episode, I think, over the last 7 years. But I hope to get a chance to do that, in addition to also having a separate individual discussion with Tati. But Traci is really absolutely one of the most lovely people I've gotten to encounter in person at one of these events. She leads with her heart, and when you talk to her, you just feel talking to her feels like a warm hug, I think is what I want to say. And that extended into this discussion as well. She has recently moved back to Korea as sort of a reclamation journey in her life, which I think is just absolutely amazing. And I'm so happy for her having that opportunity, taking that opportunity to do that. And so as a result, when we were recording, she was in Korea and I was here in the States. So we did have a couple little internet hiccup moments. That always happens when, I interview internationally at some point. I was able to cut out a lot of that, so some of it's not even noticeable, but there are a few moments of audio changes where sometimes it's kind of regular pitch and sometimes it either goes really high or really low. And I changed where I could, not really high or really low, but to me, it's distinguishable. I made edits where I could to make sure that the audio sounds very smooth. And my therapist told me I'm supposed to acknowledge when I do something that I'm proud of or that I think is good, because I tend to be very negative as a person. And so I want to say that I'm actually really proud of this edit, because I did regulate the audio in most places and it was pretty good. So where I could make the adjustments, it's very smooth, and I'm proud of how clean that is. And where I couldn't, I've cut it in such a way that it's slightly noticeable but not too noticeable, and I'm also proud of that. There are some places you're not even going to notice that I had to do a significant cut, and it's moments like that that I'm usually excited about my work. But my therapist wants me to start calling out when I do good, so that's why I did that. But yes, I am so happy to be able to share this conversation that I had with Traci Hobson. So without further ado, before I get out of here, I do just want to say that while I am intending to do the every other week schedule, that would place our next episode on December 2nd, which is 2 days after Tristan's death anniversary and 1 day before my birthday, and also in the midst of my final papers being written and or due. And so I really don't know where my head's going to be. I think gearing up for the next week and a half is going to be very difficult for me. This month has already been difficult, but a lot of stuff happened that last week of Tristan's life that will weigh on me. It did last year. It already is now. So I'm not guaranteeing that there will be an episode on December 2nd, although there are going to be recordings before then in enough time. I'm going to do my best to get it out by December 2nd, but I'm not going to place too heavy of a expectation on myself for that period. And if that's the case, I'll release it the week after on the Tuesday. So as of right now, I don't have that answer. It'll be obvious by either on December 2nd there will be an episode, or it'll be the week after. Okay. So now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming our latest cousin to the Militantly Mixed family, the lovely Traci Hobson.
Today, I'm joined by someone who I have met in Meet Space. That doesn't happen all the time. At Mixed Asian Day in September in San Francisco, I met Traci, who was on a panel about transracial adoptees. I was on a different panel about, what even was my panel? It's been 2 months, so I don't remember what my panel was on, but that's not important because I have Traci here. Traci, why don't you introduce yourself and let's get into it.
Hello. I am Traci Hobson. I am what I would consider a first generation transracial adoptee, Korean and African American, adopted to the U.S. from Korea at the age of 4 in 1961. So yes, I'm very old, but that's me. I have 3 children, settled in San Francisco, California, in the Bay Area, but I just returned to my birth country, to my homeland, Seoul, Korea. So,
oh, you're not there for visiting? You've moved?
I am here to potentially relocate. My commitment that I made to myself, and we can talk about what that journey really looks like, but my commitment that I made to myself was to do this for 2 years.
Okay. For
a number of reasons. To your point, to really lock in my sense of belonging, my sense of identity, and to just reacclimate, take back what was taken from me so many years ago.
Right. When I saw you on stage with the rest of the group of the transracial adoptees, everybody's story was very fascinating. But in your case, I think I felt like emotionally connected to you pretty quickly when you were talking about the time where you were finally starting to kind of acknowledge where you came from, what you were, and how that made you feel. And so that was kind of a big reason why I wanted to bring you on here. I have had a couple of transracial adoptees on in the past. And for those of you who don't know or recognize what that word means, it is when you are a person of a certain ethnicity, race, or culture that is adopted by somebody else who is from a different ethnicity, race, or culture, and you're raised within that. So you are transracial. And I have had a few on the show in the past, but I think there is a very particular part in American history where Korean babies were either being actively adopted out or kidnapped and adopted out. So it is something I think is important to address, especially when it turns out that people are also mixed race in this as well, because it has to do with American imperialism and all other kinds of things. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think I gravitated towards you pretty quickly because of what you were sharing on the stage. When you came here, I think I remember you saying you came here completely just speaking Korean. Do you remember about when you started to kind of transition into English and when you felt like you were starting to lose language to a degree?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, Charmaine. I was adopted at 4 in Korea. My father was in the military, was in the Air Force at the time, my adopted father. So I went from Korea to Japan, lived there for about a year and a half. And so I came to the States right around the age of 6. I do remember not being able to speak English and only speaking Korean, but I can't really pinpoint when I lost the language. And I think that that was probably more of a part of my unintentional but forced assimilation into the African American community more than anything else. And I think just psychologically, I blocked it. I blocked it. I was not encouraged to keep the language. My parents couldn't speak the language to me, so I think it was an organic type,
like survival almost.
Removal. Oh, right, a survival, absolutely, a survival technique. And that was probably the start of where I learned to perform belonging, if that makes sense.
Yeah. As a mixed person, absolutely. As a mixed Asian who is Black on the inside, yes, also, absolutely, in my family. Did you kind of remember or understand that you were both adopted and that you weren't exactly like the family that you were being raised in?
I never not knew I was adopted.
Okay.
But I have always felt outside, like an outsider. I was reminded of it every day, just in day to day. I was never fully accepted by the African American community, and there weren't. I grew up in Virginia, so there weren't a lot of Asians that either, right? Koreans. So I kind of stood alone, and I felt that probably most of all. I felt very alone, trying to be accepted by anybody. Right. But not fully accepted by anybody either. So I was bullied a lot coming through school, and I'm sure you can relate to this. I looked different.
Right.
It was clear that I wasn't 100% African American. So that was a point where you realize very quickly you're the elephant in the room. And that was very uncomfortable all the way through adulthood.
Yeah. So even when you're coming up, so you're kind of a child and teenager into the 70s, right? Even then, it was still like you were outsider for Black folks?
I was an outsider. I was still very different. I became, you get all of the stereotypical descriptions, right? The flavor of the day, the exotic, the exotic thing. So it was more of, I was for lack of a better word, an object, not a person. I became to be just so different that there was no place, right, for me.
That's always fascinating to me when other mixed folks have the exclusion from the Black side, other mixed Black folks. My experience is different, and I don't know if it's a being raised on the West Coast versus East Coast thing or what, but like the one drop rule kind of applied to me where I grew up. Even though I was, yellow and everything like that, I look just like my dad. That's one of the things, but just a different color. But my exclusion came on the Asian side. And I couldn't be like, no Asian American accepted me, until later in life. Then it was the Filipino folks took me in a little bit. So I'm always shocked, even on the show, even after 8 years, I'm always shocked when I hear like the Black people didn't embrace you versus like, in my case, it was the opposite side. And if you're growing up in Virginia, you don't experience that many Asians as well during that time. So like, I guess you didn't even really get to test that out until later.
And it was, and I should clarify or put that a little bit more in context so that it's more of, I was bullied because I was different, right?
Right.
More than anything else. Now, my parents, they're both deceased now, but my father very much tried to remind me to never deny or hide from both sides, because there were two sides. My mother, on the other hand, was very adamant about assimilating. You know? So it was a little bit different there. Now, my extended family, my cousins and so forth, they were the ones that got me through it all. They stood behind me, beside me. You know, they were as protective as they could be. It was, you know, the going to school. It was going out to the grocery store. It was, you know, where I got the looks. I got the, oh, where are you from? Right?
Yeah.
And what are you? That's always my favorite. What are you? Right?
Can I ask you, do Black people say, what are you mixed with? Or do they just say, what are you? You get what are you mixed with?
I get both. I get both. I get early, like in the 70s, 80s, I got the what are you? Like just like that. What are you? And then it was what are you mixed with? But it always seemed kind of, I won't say accusatory, but always it was intimidating. It was intimidating the way that it was asked, you know. And I do think it was the difference between West Coast and East Coast, because I did grow up in Virginia, you know, the Bible Belt, the South. So anything different, was tough.
Yeah. I grew up in predominantly Black schools when I was younger. And then by the end of my high school, I transferred from a Black high school to a kind of, I will say, multi-ethnic, predominantly white high school. And that's when things changed for me. I didn't realize it before. I didn't even realize that other people didn't know I was Black. Like, I didn't realize only Black people knew I was Black until I went to that high school later. In my head, I think I was just like this dark-skinned Nubian warrior or something like that. But actually, I didn't realize until later. But whenever there was a non-Black person in the school with me growing up, those were the people who bullied me no matter what they were, because they couldn't understand why I was pale with big lips and things like that. Like, that's where I got the bullying. So it's all, but yeah, maybe it is a West Coast, East Coast things, but also the South being what it is, even with the military influence, from what I've experienced with people from Virginia, even if they grew up around the military base, that like military folks are mixed thing didn't seem to take as much there as like where I grew up, where we were military too. And everybody was like all the military guys had wives from different places. So all of the kids were mixed. You were the only one that you knew growing up?
Only mixed race child growing up now. And I can say that when I first came to the States, immediately lived on a military base. I lived in Langley, in Hampton. And I can say without a doubt, that was probably the most happy I was as a child on base. It was sheltered because, like you said, it was diverse. It's the military, right? It went to school on the base, but that was where I can say I was most calm, most happy, most didn't feel as different, if you will, or didn't notice I was so different.
Yeah. I think community-wise, it's helpful when there's other people that are considered different. It took me years, and I'm curious if you feel this way too. Even though I had a fairly mixed upbringing, my parents are both biracial. We grew up on the military base. We lived with cousins. I just grew up around mixed people my whole life. It wasn't until adulthood that I started to be like, where are all the mixed people? But when I got older, that's when I kind of started to see that it was hurting me calling myself different. Like I think in the beginning, when I was a child, when I was younger, because I heard people say you were different, I said I was different. And then as an adult, I started going like, no. It was like, I'm the only one I know like that, or, I'm like, this is me. This is my story. You're different from me, not me. I feel like I'm not the different one. But it took me until I was an adult to get there. I think I really allowed the you're different or you're an other thing to kind of sit with me throughout most of my childhood. Again, even though I had a very mixed upbringing, I felt fairly confident as a mixed person. There was always that little thing kind of needling at me. You're different. You're the different one. You know, did you get to a place ever, either in childhood or even into adulthood, where you started to push back?
No, I don't think I ever pushed back on it. What I would say is I was so caught up not knowingly in the trauma of adoption that it was so important to me to be accepted and to not be abandoned or rejected that it shaped me being always a people pleaser, right? So never pushed back, never used my voice, really. And well into adulthood, I can say honestly that I probably did not truly learn to use my voice and to say, I get to choose what my identity is. Probably not within the last 10 years, to be quite honest.
Oh, I think that's kind of what you were saying on the panel, sort of like through your children, it was sort of how you were starting to take ownership more than you had in the past. I do want to get into the children part, but I want to go back to you mentioning the trauma of adoption. I don't feel like that's the story people hear as often. You know, the PR around adoption is just like, oh, this generous family or whatever took in somebody, you know, in need or something like that. But it's rarely very public about how difficult it is, both in transition for the child, but also like throughout the life of like knowing you're not from the family you were raised in, definitely not feeling it, maybe even in feeling othered by the parents and things like that. But also just what you lost, not even realizing what you lost. Have you found ways in adulthood to address that kind of stuff for you? Does it impact how you are with your own children?
It did, and it does. I'll give you a perfect example. You know, one of the things about the trauma of adoption, I have a Korean name. And that's what, when I came to the States, that's what my green card has. It has my Korean name. And my Korean name, when I used to ask, what did it mean? You know, what was it? My father used to say, oh, it means a beautiful joy, something like that. And I used to always wonder and think to myself, well, if it meant beautiful joy, then why was it changed? You know, what was it about it? You know, am I not beautiful? Am I not a joy? You know, what was it about it? And it's little things like that that an adoptee thinks about, right? Or the fact that my parents did not truly try to encourage me to. My father did, you know, and he died when I was 18, so couldn't really do a lot, but really understanding what my experience was out in the world. You know, my mother wanted me to move about the world like I wasn't an adoptee, like I wasn't a mixed, you know, child. And it wasn't helpful. I didn't know how to navigate. I didn't know how to navigate the world, right?
How do you pretend to be monoracial if people are literally telling you, what are you?
Right. And it was a way of, you know, just accept it, you know, just, and the one thing, you know, I do hear people say, well, you should be grateful you're adopted. It's not a matter of being grateful, but the world of adoption is twofold, right? On one side, there is gratitude. On the other side, there is a lot of intimidation, a lot of just anger and resentment. Not so much of being adopted, but something was taken from me without my permission.
Right.
You know, my language, my culture, my, you know, and it's hard to explain that unless you're another adoptee, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's real. I mean, the trauma of adoption is real, and I didn't realize that that's what it was, and that's what shaped me to be the people pleaser, to be the afraid of being rejected, afraid of being abandoned, afraid of, and it carried all the way through all of my relationships, whether they be professional, personal. Yeah, it ran deep. It ran very deep.
Yeah. The abandonment thing, I think the way that I relate to that is because I had teen parents and they would just drop me off. They would just drop me off at like one of my grandmother's house or one of my aunt's house. So there was a lot of times I was being raised by other people. And so I have like major abandonment issues into adulthood, which I also carried into relationships. And then my husband died, which felt like the ultimate abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, there's dealing with all that kind of stuff too. But like the way abandonment forces you into people pleasing and masking and really not presenting as your own self for so long, I'm fighting that now, and I've been openly, you know, Charmaine, militantly mixed, you know, like for a while and stuff like that, but I still have to fight like that sense of abandonment and who am I really, who would I have been if, you know, all that kind of stuff. And with you, I imagine like it has so many questions you would have. Were you abandoned? Were you taken? You know, like what of the circumstances made this happen? And also, if you got a chance to stay there, what would you have felt like you lost in being a mixed Black and Korean kid in Korea? Like I can see how many questions that I can think of, you know, and having that be on your heart the whole time that you're trying to, I guess, assimilate here.
And you know, in this journey, because I am also doing a birth search, right? I'm trying to find. I had located my first father and his family.
Okay.
And I am in the middle. Part of the reason I came to Korea was to do the birth search for my first mother.
Okay.
And it's been that journey where I have finally recognized the trauma. I have finally recognized that what happened to me was out of my control.
Mm-hmm.
What's in my control is now how I navigate with that story in my heart, right? And I used to think my father was horrible for abandoning my mother. But since then, I have realized that my father didn't even know I existed. And
right.
There was, from when I gathered pieces that I put together in speaking with my first father's family, is that if he had known I existed, he would have made sure that my mom and me stayed with him. That there was a love story there that nobody really knew about. So that gave me a lot of comfort. But growing up, I didn't know. I mean, to your point, I didn't know. I didn't know why. I knew I was forced to be given up. Because at the time, there was a lot of propaganda, a lot of, you know, Korea wanted to stay pure. And so anything that was impure or mixed, to your point, they got rid of it. But, you know, since then, I'm beginning to understand that my mother struggled too. It was unfair to think that she abandoned me on purpose.
Right.
And it was unfair to think that my father walked away from her without reason.
Yeah. If you're not told anything, of course, your mind would go, well, I'm kind of a negative person, so my mind would go to all the possible terrible versions of the story before I'd even think of the generous version of the story. So you didn't get to actually meet your first father, but you found his family?
No, he unfortunately passed in 1980. But I did find out I have two sisters. And I have met one of them, and we are developing a really good relationship. I have met my one surviving uncle and a host of first cousins, and they have been very generous and very accepting, didn't question it. So from that aspect, I'm truly, truly grateful. Truly grateful, because it could have gone the other way, right? They could have easily said, yeah, well, thanks, but no thanks. We're not looking for another member of the family, right? So, and they supported this journey. They supported me coming here. And so I appreciated that.
Yeah, that's
They
great.
understood. They understood why.
Did you find photos that showed you people who looked like you through that side?
No.
No, you still don't have anybody that look like you.
No. Yeah, and even when I met a lot of them, I actually went to a family reunion on that side last year, and it was very funny because I still got the looks like, oh, right. So, I can remember sitting in corporate meetings, where I was the only woman and the only person of color. And being looked at like, well, we're not quite sure what you are. We don't think you're all Black. We don't think you're all anything else either. And so even then, navigating the corporate world.
Yeah.
And I was very successful in the corporate world. I can remember a person saying to me, someone who I thought I was very close to, saying to me point blank that the only reason that I went up the corporate ladder was because I was fair skinned. I was light skinned and had good hair, whatever that means, right?
Oh gosh, I hate that. I'm sorry, I hate that for you.
Right. But it's those kinds of things that, like you said, people, I don't think they are mean spirited when they say it, but there's a level of ignorance there, right? And I was crushed because this person was one of my favorite people. I thought that we had gotten past all of that. And to say that to me was just disheartening. It was like, well, why couldn't I have come up the corporate ladder because I'm capable?
Right.
And to attach it to the color thing. And you realize very quickly, even in the African American community, we can be sometimes color struck in our own.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So. I definitely experienced versions of that too. When I was younger, dark-skinned people, or women in particular, didn't have problems with me. I was actually really embraced with dark-skinned women, but light-skinned women did not. And most of the bullying I had from the Black community came from light-skinned women when I was or young teenagers to young womanhood. And they would say like, you think you're better than us because you're lighter and you have the good hair. And I'm like, I don't have the good hair. I have Asian textured hair. And even like, what is the good hair? That sucks. We would assume that our hair would not be good. I hate that. I do want to talk a little bit about the decision to go back to Korea, even for 2 years. The aspect of like, besides the birth mother search, what are you hoping to get out of your time there? What are you reclaiming?
I'm reclaiming my roots, which, and I credit my children a lot for pushing me, although it was deep in my heart for decades, right? It was them that I have 3 children, and they each said to me separately, but they all made the same comment to me. They said, "Mommy, we've always seen your light dim." And I would ask them, well, what do you mean by that? And they said, you have an inherent sadness, not that you weren't happy, not that you didn't laugh, not that you didn't, but there was always like this underlying, they could tell there was something missing. And I used to always encourage them, never deny, never decline, never hide from their biracial roots, right? And so they never did. They embraced it. They were, and they grew up on the West Coast, so they were around diversity. It wasn't a big thing. It was just, oh, okay, and they moved on, right? They had friends from all walks of life, all diverse, all ethnicities. And my son, bless his heart, I used to do a lot of traveling, and he one day just put this violin in front of me and said, just spit, I'll take it from there. And he was the one that initially sent in the 23andMe, he was like, we're going to do this. And my younger daughter gifted me my first trip back to Korea in 21. It was the first time I had been returned to the country since I left in 61. So long time span, right? And I remember coming back, how fearful I was of not being accepted.
I bet, yeah.
Totally different experience when I came. Totally different experience. The worst that I got was Koreans were mad that I couldn't speak Korean, but
man, Asians be tough. Because like you would come here and some of the Asian communities don't teach their children because of assimilation.
Right. But
and then we get there and they're like, why don't you speak?
Right. But they were so welcoming and so understanding. And I think more that they were upset that I couldn't speak to Korean because my daughter speaks it. Right.
I remember her saying, yeah.
So I think that was the thing. It was like, well, how is she able to and you don't? And so encouraged me to do this. And then I suddenly thought to myself, I owe this to them. Mm-hmm. I owe them to understand their legacy. I owe them to understand their roots. I owe them to show them that I am proud as well, right? I want them to be able to write their story. I wasn't able to there's so many missing pages in my story. And I don't want that for them, right? I think I owe that to them.
Are you also prioritizing yourself in that journey? I understand giving it to your children, but for you.
Right. And I think to your point, I had to do this myself in order to be able to show them, in order to be able to, and I needed to heal. I needed to heal, right? Yeah. Because my healing would automatically push down to them. So that's why I'm here, is for that healing, for that, as I would say, faith over fear, right? And purpose over pressure, right? Is to truly understand that belonging doesn't necessarily mean to a group or to a person or to a country. It means belonging to myself. And that's what I'm after, because I can't help them unless I help myself.
Yeah. Right? So that makes me happy to hear. I'm excited to hear about this reclamation for you, especially that you're physically doing it in Korea versus just like being on the internet trying to find things. Does it feel like home? Can you feel some kind of home there?
It does. It's very hard to describe or explain. It feels very, very familiar, right? It did the minute when I came back in 21, it felt so familiar, yet so mysterious at the same time.
Yeah.
And I feel the exact same way now. It feels like home in a very, I don't even know the word to describe it. I'm comfortable here.
That's good.
Now, granted, I've run into some glitches in the transition process. I've cried a lot.
I bet.
But despite all that, I can say that I posted this a couple of days ago, that the tears have been kind of like holy water, right? They've been cleansing. They've been just not all sad tears, but tears of, I'm here, I'm doing this, and I'm proud of myself.
Yeah. Right. It's a lot to release, a lot of pent up stuff to release there. I'm so happy that you're doing it, and even understanding that sometimes it's going to be very difficult and even just like emotionally challenging and everything like that. I'm really happy to hear that you're doing that and you're reclaiming it for yourself. I hope that you're able to find your birth mother story. If you don't, though, just reclaiming yourself, I think, is an amazing thing that you're doing that you can give to your children also.
It is. I came here with hope, but not expectations. Because I think when you have expectations, you get disappointed a lot faster, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of hope. I am a dual citizen, so that was part of my reclamation process, was to recover my citizenship here. which I've done. So that was a journey of itself. But it's those steps. But absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing. Traci, thank you so much for coming. I know we took a couple little hills of my own to get you here, but I'm so glad that you came here. I feel like I need to book a ticket to go to Korea now that I know someone that is there.
Come on over.
I do ask one question of everybody who comes on my show, just because, a lot of our stories, mixed people, can sometimes be difficult, emotionally traumatic and stuff like that. But I also think we find ways of like deep happiness or deep pride within what we are. So I like to ask everybody at the end of my show, what do you love most about being mixed?
That I have two cultures that I can genuinely say are mine. I love that I am diverse within myself. I love the foods on both sides. I love the influence that each side has on the other.
Yeah.
And that's a little known fact is that, Korea influences the Black community, the Black community influences Koreans, right? So I love that cross influence. I love that I have learned to truly embrace being mixed. So it's all those things that I love about being mixed. I can go to the K-pop concert, I can go to the hip hop one, right?
That's right.
I can eat the Southern fried chicken, and I can eat the Korean fried chicken, right? It's just, so it's, but in all seriousness, I love the fact, like I said, that I am diverse within myself. I mean, I think that that's a perfect place to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't always ask this question of everybody, but since it kind of got prompted inside your response, so you didn't lose your Korean taste buds. That's good to hear. Do you have a hybrid food that joins both cultures that you really love?
Oh, that's
meal,
a great
food, meal,
question. Whatever. That's a great question. That is such a good question.
I mean, we're mixed. We might as well mix our food, right?
Right. I can't say there's a hybrid meal. I love soul food, right? I think that's great. And then I also love the Korean food. So I don't know that I ever mix them, although I love them both. But I should try that. I should really try to find it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Charmaine.
there's ways, like, yeah, so I really love my grandmother's sesame chicken, my Japanese grandmother's sesame chicken, but I like it with a soul food plate. So I actually prefer like the Japanese fried chicken too. Like, it makes me uncomfortable even voicing it, but like I actually prefer Japanese fried chicken, texture wise, to Southern fried chicken. But I like everything else to be soul food, so that's how I kind of mix it.
That's such a good question. Now I will say I prefer noodles over rice.
Oh,
so
really?
If you're going, yeah, I much prefer noodles over rice. And actually I'm going to a cooking class this weekend, Korean cooking class. I think I learned more how to cook soul food than I did Korean food, although I love Korean food and my children love it. They've always grown up on it. But yeah, the running joke for me is I don't know how to cook rice. I just don't.
I mean, they took it from you.
And people are like, what? You're Asian? You can't cook rice? It's like, nope. Skipped my generation and skill set. Sorry. Right. No, my girls can cook rice, but it missed me. So, and that's the running joke in the family. You want rice? Yeah, no, I'm not doing it. I buy the little microwavable rice cups. So. Okay,
judgment. This is the judgment-free zone. They took your rice. They took it from you.
I know it's shameless.
It's not. It's not. People can like what they like, right? I mean, like I said, I got uncomfortable saying I actually prefer Japanese chicken. So, we all got our things. Thank you again so much for coming on the show. Is there any parting thoughts you want to do before we get out of here?
I am happy if anyone wants, to check in with me. I'm on all the social media handles. I would love to pull the next person forward that's struggling like I did. That I definitely believe in that, and I believe that we all have something to offer, and we are enough. We are absolutely enough.
Yes.
And Charmaine, I want to thank you. It was such a pleasure meeting you in September, and I really, really hope that we stay in touch. And I'll keep you posted on my journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And just so you know, once you come on Militantly Mixed, you become a cousin of the show. So we're now cousins. And I'm going to have to book a ticket to come visit my cousin in Korea.
Come on, let's go. Let's do it. We'll just sit down and hey, it's all good. No, yeah. Thank you so much. This has been my pleasure. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Militantly Mixed is a Main Hustle Media podcast, produced and hosted by me, Charmaine Fury. Music is by David Bogan, The One. Please follow us on social media, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at Militantly Mixed. If you'd like to become a Patreon of Militantly Mixed, please go to patreon.com/Charmaine Fury for a monthly sponsorship or paypal.me/militantlymixed for a one-time only donation. And if you like what you hear on Militantly Mixed, please subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to be your mixed-ass self. Main Hustle Media. Turn your side hustle into your main hustle.